Hey there guys, and welcome back to another FPV guide video. Today we are going to be taking a look at the new AUTEL EVO. Possibly one of the most hotly anticipated new drones of 2018. First announced at the CES 2018 in Las Vegas, the EVO was finally the new drone from AUTEL. Much smaller than the original AUTEL Quickstart Premium, much more compact, with 4.3 miles, 7 kilometer range and 30 minutes endurance. So it's really a whole new drone for AUTEL that is a smaller, much more backpackable, much more portable drone, and still with a 4K 60 frames per second, 100 megabits per second data rate iteration. A lot of you guys have asked about it, so let's get it out there right now. The movie formats are MOV or MP4, and you can use H.264 or H.265 compression. The 265 compression holds a lot more details. However, it also takes a lot more processor power from your laptop to unwrap and render 265 video. Let's move into this box and see what is in the box. What we're gonna do today is take a look at this and unbox it. You guys are gonna see the components of the AUTEL EVO, and then I'm gonna very quickly follow up with a camera dynamic range resolution video where we're gonna compare the EVO to a couple of comparable products in the market, just so you get an idea of where it's placing. That said, let's get into the box. And of course, I already did kind of peek a little, just because I had to figure out what way to open this. So here we go, inside this box, and it's one of those typical modern boxes, you know, with a nice plastic carry handle in here. Frankly, I would empty out the pieces I don't need, and I would use this box as a storage container. I would probably, no matter what I do, I would also use the foam, that's really nicely cut foam for the aircraft here, as the container for the aircraft. So let's get the stuff out of the box and see if I can get this out. Here is the aircraft. Very compact little aircraft with folding legs up here and here. That gets you a folding aircraft. Very compact, very easy to travel with. It's has a very firm, hefty quality to it. It actually feels stronger, feels a little tighter than some of the aircraft in this category. Let's get this out of the box and get the rest of the stuff out of the box here. Then we can try to put it all together, fire it up, and talk a little bit about the technology here, and then we'll be ready to fly it tomorrow, knowing how it works. So we already got the up here on the corner, we have the controller. Let's pull that out. Again, in a neat little box, the foam pads here to protect it for transport. I probably is not gonna keep this box, but it might be worth it just because I think I'm just gonna drop the controller in here with some foam when I take it out. So here is the foam pads, they can go. Goes over here in the can go file. And of course all of these little, there's plastic protective stuff everywhere. It has kind of like a piano finish gloss surface. See, right there is where the screen is, underneath the controller holder here. So you can fly this thing without your iPhone. And basically it has a screw in the back here. So you can remove this entire clamp. And I'm sure some of you guys out there are gonna choose to not even use this clamp because you don't need it. You do need the app for some of the more advanced flight modes. If you wanna do follow me or follow the object, then you probably need the app. I consider the built-in screen phenomenal because a million times I've been out flying, just kind of using my phone here, and all of a sudden while flying, because you're out far away from internet connectivity, it's using a lot of power, and my phone runs low on power when I'm flying, and I'm kind of ending up flying home, pressing the return to home because I can't see on the screen anymore. So having the built-in screen, honestly, it's phenomenal. That's the controller here. While we're still looking at it, it folds out here and gives a really good little grip. You can kind of see how this lays into my hand there. You have the screen up here, and I could very easily be tempted to not use my iPhone with this at all. Okay, we're gonna come back to this when we look at all the other components. Up here is the charger. Let's take a look. In here we get the charger. And you see right on top here, the one object I keep saying, guys, we have enough plastic in the world, we don't really need this. What I keep suggesting is get one of these little thingies here. They plug right in and is much smaller, easier to ship. But that's just me. It is included, so whatever cable you need in your country is going to be included in this kit. And also what it has here is, of course, the battery charger. You can see if we open it up right here, this is how it connects to the battery. So it's charging the individual cells, which is pretty much the new style of smart chargers. When this thing is done charging your battery, let's get rid of this plastic thing, it does nothing for us. And we'll just stick my favorite little power brick on the end. You can see how that's how I usually use it. I just hang it on the wall like that. Bam, and there it goes. Down here on the bottom, you see it also has a USB port. The USB port is to charge the controller, but you can of course charge other USB things with that port. Oh, let's put this down. And down on the bottom here, can you see that? It's a little hard to see. Let's see if I can get hold of it. Here's a box with additional pieces in there. Okay, that is it. So the box can go now. Like I said before, it has a really nice foam cut out. This foam here, I am loving that because you can put that into any type of case you want to transport this in. For now, I'm just gonna stick it in here and use it when we take it flying tomorrow. All right, so moving on here, let's take a look in the last accessory box. It doesn't say what's in here. So I'm gonna pull out, and here we get a couple of cables. And like that. This is, so we have a USB, like a micro USB, and the other one looks to be a USB-C. So that will allow you to connect most Android phones. The one thing I'm missing here is an iOS cable. However, because of the way the controller is made, it's not really a major issue. I'll show you right here, opening it up, and you can see there is the small plug that we're using to charge. And I believe that's also the one that the custom cables are plugging into. But there's also a full-size USB plug right here. And I used that one earlier today to connect to my tablet. So I know you can use any regular off-the-shelf cable to whatever phone or tablet you have that runs iOS or Android. It's called the Android Explorer app, by the way. So if you look for Explorer app, you should see it when it comes up on the Play Store or iOS Store. Here is a couple more cables. So here is a micro USB. So I would say that's the one, the charging cable from, remember, that goes into the bottom of this one here. So it literally just comes in right here. And you're hooked up and you're ready to charge the controller. And then that goes into this micro USB plug on the front of the controller, or rather on the bottom of the controller where the hand grips falls out. So there, that is ready to charge. Have that charging tonight. Lastly, in the box we find a set of propellers. So that's what the propeller looks like right there. It folds out like this. It's actually a quick connect. You can see here how it's working. You just kind of plop it right down, stick it on the and twist, push down and twist to lock it in place. So included here is a right and a left turning propeller. Excellent addition to the box. I'm a big fan of adding extra propellers because nothing sucks more than having a brand new toy and managing to hit a branch and take off or landing and needing a pair of propellers before you can keep playing. Finally, in the box, we also find a couple of brochures. Here is a disclaimer and safety guide. I bet you would say something along the line, do not fly over your friends, don't knock over beers, and do not chase little animals. Anything, all the things you shouldn't be doing with a drone. Then it has the packing list. We already unpacked, so we know what's on the packing list. Importantly, here is the Quickstart guide. You can see the quick guide with the gimbal. So let's take a quick look through here. Here you go. The aircraft front and left views. Goes over folding the controller. So, and it says here, to arm it and launch, we need to press the button, and to land it, we throttle down. And finally, to disarm it, we have to put the sticks down and center for 2 seconds to disarm it. So, there we go. Let's get to the drone. Well, gents, here's our drone. So before we can fly, we need to do a couple of things here. Let's start to remove some of the plastic sleeves. We're just gonna pull on them. And then we have the propellers up here. They're kind of nice and firm down here, just like most folding propellers, really. There's a big thing of plastic on top. More propeller plastic. More propeller plastic. And now up in front here they have, let's just unfold some of this. So the top arms comes out first. They kind of click firmly in place. And there you go, we have them clicked in place. Up on top here you find the battery, and you just kind of push down and pull. And to charge it, you attach down here. You can see all the power pins right there. So we are just gonna push it in. And when you put it back on, you can see it has a couple of big hooks right here. So that just goes in, and you just push gently until it clicks, and you're ready to go. Up on the front here, we have a pretty hefty protector for the gimbal. And let's just push down on, you can kind of see that on each side there's a little clip. When I push on that, I can remove this, and that gets us the camera, and you can see how the 3-axis gimbal is built right here. So on the side here we have the pitch motor, and up on top we have the yaw stabilizing motor. And if you look inside here, it looks like the sunshade is cricket. It's not actually cricket. What it is that the roll stabilization literally is inside the camera body here. So you won't see that being level till you fire it up, when it's gonna just level out. Here's a really interesting little thing. And I know the guys at Polar Pro is probably already making us filters, because look at this. It is a removable UV probably filter. I would guess that it's a UV filter. It's not off yet. Keep going, and there it is. So we actually have a removable filter right on top here. That is awesome, because that means aftermarket filters like ND, and now from Polar Pro they have some time-lapse filters that will literally give you like 15-20 second exposures during the daytime. So they have some amazing long exposure filters for these flying cameras, because that's really what this is. And especially the AUTEL drone is a flying camera, because if you remember, the X-Star Premium was renowned for its amazing camera, and the pictures I've seen so far suggest this is going to be a great camera. You can kind of see how I can turn it here a little bit. So this is actually the rotation. The roll rotation is built into the hard body. Now before I get this lens here dirty, let's get fixed here. Let's get the filter back on. Okay, it's safe. Don't get fingerprints on that, and frankly, I probably wouldn't fly without the glass filter unless you're gonna fly into extreme flare where you may actually want to avoid extra layers of glass. But ultimately, I think I would just put whatever filter is needed on there and leave it on there. That said, let's start looking at the rest. Up here on front, you can see 2 video cameras. Those video cameras create a 3D mesh. So they actually look for obstacles in a 3D mesh through these. It's basically stereo video cameras. And we have some more. Between the stereo cameras, I see what kind of looks like a hot rod car grill of sorts with the A in it here. That's kind of cool. So as I said, we have the stereo obstacle avoidance cameras on the front. And going to the rear end, you see down here, here is infrared obstacle avoidance cameras on the rear. So what that means is we have the front looking that creates like a 3D mesh that's going to tell it what's it flying into, and more importantly, when you're following an object, it's going to try to calculate and follow its way around based on the depth and obstacle avoidance map it's creating in front of it. On the back, it's not quite as sophisticated, but still it has the infrared that's going to keep it from running into a branch or into a wall immediately behind it. So when you're backing up, hopefully you're not going to run into stuff. And it is worth keeping in mind though, it's not going to work probably really good with fine branches. There's definitely certain textures that the infrared is not going to see as well. But so far they've been working really well. I've seen them on other drones and really have never had a problem with them. Flipping this thing over, let's take a look at the belly. This feels like an alloy or metal of sorts, and with cooling ribs along down here. And you see two cameras. There's one right here and there's one here. That is the down looking, I always call them the drift camera. So it's helping the GPS at low level to see the ground and keeping you from drifting around. Next to it or between them here, we see the ultrasonic emitter and receiver. I'm not sure which one is which one, doesn't really matter. The one emits and the other one receives one of them. Basically, that is how it measures the altitude, especially at very low levels. So when this is coming down to the ground, it will know when it's very close, and it will understand that it's landing instead of keep behaving like it's flying once it gets within a certain distance of the ground. And because of the drift cameras, it will stand still over the ground instead of drifting a little bit, because in just GPS mode, you'll remember from a couple of years ago, drones tended to kind of drift a little bit when they came close to the ground. Modern drones with drift cameras or optical lock positioning systems don't do that. They know they're close to the ground, and they manages to stay amazingly still when we land them. It's seeing where this has come since 2 and 3 years ago, let alone the first drone I flew was around 2008. These things are amazing, and the cameras on them are absolutely amazing compared to where cameras used to be at on drones. Very, very recently, these cameras was really an afterthought. You got a flying machine and then they tacked some kind of not very impressive camera onto there, and we were all incredibly happy. Now the cameras are becoming really a thing in their own right. Like here we have the 4K 60 frames per second, 100 megabits per second umbrella video processor. So we are having a high-end video processing going on right here that really can be used for documentaries, for still shots, opening shots, etc. And as you can see, it's easy to travel with. Well, that said, let's get this thing turned on and fired up and make sure everything's working so we're ready to go play tomorrow. We're back to the controller now. Let's get rid of some of all of these films. One more static cling, what should I call it? Here's antennas. Let's see if I can get these open. Maybe not. There. All right, so, and I'm gonna say the thing I always say, when you hold the radio, make sure when you fold the antennas out that they are vertical, because that is where they get the best coverage from the antenna out towards the aircraft. Some people like to point them to the aircraft. Don't do that, because you just don't get as good of a coverage as you can. Antennas, and there's actually a click here that's made, the antennas are made to be perfectly vertical, so try to have them vertical. Find out how you hold your radio and then adjust your antennas so they're perfectly up, down. That way the signal coming to the aircraft is going to be received and sent the best possible way. If you don't have good signal, you're not gonna get as much range. So this is a must-do. So the first thing we always do, of course, is to start up the controller before the aircraft. Just hold down about 3 seconds. So hold that up to the microphone. You can hear the fan is starting up, and here it is telling you that the system is starting up. With that, I'm gonna go over here, and on the back of the battery, if you tap once, it tells you you have 3/4 of a battery, maybe a little less. I'm gonna fold the arms up because I don't want the propellers to be able to suddenly start spinning next to me. By folding the arms, they're kind of locked down and they're not gonna go too far. Now we can start it up. And I'm just gonna hold again for a little more than 3 seconds. Woohoo! And you can hear the gimbal is going in here, and now it's saying ready to go, and is telling me, it doesn't give me an indication of a GPS, it's saying vision is on, we have got a micro SD card. And to see more, up on the corner of the radio here is a display button. So I'm gonna click this display button and look at this. You guys just found my Windex. I should put that out of the way. I'm very sorry about that. There you go. Now we're seeing through the thing, and you can see it is showing red up front here because of course this controller is in the way of the drone. It is also showing that there is an obstacle in the back within 1 meter. So that's the fridge back here. It is seeing my fridge. When I put my hand here, it changes to 1/2 meter. When I take it away, it goes about 1.5 meters. Now it's seeing the wall. So basically we are seeing both the forward looking and the backward looking obstacle avoidance sensor here. And if I pick it up a little bit and twist it, you can see how the camera is still staying kind of stable because it's twisting inside the camera barrel itself. Now, for my iPhone, there is not yet an app, but this is how the iPhone fits in. As you can see, it fits in quite nicely. It's a really good little fit here. However, like I said, the app doesn't exist, and I don't have an Android phone, so I had to use my NVIDIA Shield, which is like my favorite. We're just gonna go in, and here is, I already loaded up the AUTEL Explorer app. Now, I ran into a problem this morning because, look at that, my tablet doesn't fit into this. To get around that, I printed a quick little thing about this size here. It is 45 millimeter from between these two pull points, and then for those of you guys who wonder, this piece here opens up to 82 millimeter. So that's 82 millimeter, and that will give you the distance you need if you want to print an app or print a little hook like this. You can see how it's made. You put a little point on each end, and that allows me to hook it in here. So I am gonna grab this right here. I'm gonna put my tablet in, then I'm gonna hook it under here and pull it up over the top. It is definitely a bit top heavy, but we have signal, as you can see, and pressing go fly, hopefully it's not gonna fly, brings it up right here. I would like to see some picture on my screen. And that's of course because I have not connected this yet. So in order to get the picture up on the screen here, I need to tap this thing into the front here, like that. Now it's tapped in, and then I go up here and tap it into here. I need to push on the other end. There you go. Now we're connected. Now some of you guys were really observant, I noticed, and have already pointed out that the options interface is missing the VR goggles. And I checked with AUTEL, and in fact they are including the VR goggle interface, so I can use my Zeiss VR ones And they're making it so that if you tilt your head, you can control the angle of the camera while you're flying. So they are gonna bring back the VR goggle interface. You guys are good. How did you guys notice that? Because I did not notice that till you guys pointed it out. Anyway, in the intelligent options here, you have camera, dynamic tracking, viewpoint, orbit, and waypoint. There's a whole bunch of flight modes here that you access when you use the app. Let's go back out and look at that. Now we are connected with the cable, and here is, in fact, our setup. Now, one thing I really like a lot about this interface, and this big tablet here may be really good to demonstrate. So up here, it shows you the angle of the camera in degrees, but when I go back out, I control the angle down here on the shoulder by this little dial, and you can see how the little arrow moves. So right there, it will show you what your actual camera angle is. All right, moving on real quickly, here we have Mov. I can choose between the format by going in here. So right on the screen, I don't have to go into the gear for a lot of the setup options. They're very unintrusively down at the bottom. Here's my resolution, tap on that, tap back out, frame rate, it is 30. I can simply slide this slider to the frame I want, so let's put it back to 30 for now. Or I could put it up to 60 frames per second. Personally, I rarely use that, but if you want to slow it down later, it's of course good. I like to shoot at the frame rate I'm gonna upload the product, so like this video is gonna be 30 frames per second on YouTube. So 30 frames per second is where we're gonna be at. Right now, the exposure mode is auto. If I click to that, I can go to manual, and going to manual, we come over here, and now we can choose the ISO from up to 3200 ISO. I always say shoot at the lowest possible ISO because there's less noise. It's a little dark in here, frankly it is. So let's set it up a little bit. So now we have 400 ISO, and I can go over here. Now remember shutter speed when you're shooting at 30 frames per second. The golden rule is the shutter speed should then be half of the frame rate. So if it's 30 frames per second, you should be shooting 1/60th. It seems to work a little bit better on digital, so we might be able to go down and actually run it slower. It will allow us to go down to a 30th, and that's definitely gonna get a bit of dragging in the frame. I would still go up to probably 160 is what I'm shooting. And of course, when you get outside, then you're gonna have to use some of that shutter because there's no aperture control. And instead of aperture control, that's where Polar Pro comes in with some of their MD filters that can allow us to fly and shoot with a slower shutter speed so we don't get jello and stuff like that. Anyway, clicking back out here, further settings, camera settings are right here. Overexposure warning, etc. Center point, histogram. I always like to shoot with a histogram. That way I can see where in the histogram my exposure is. So I like to have that on. I'm not so interested, there's my histogram, I'm not so interested in the overexposure warning because I look at the histogram and I keep my details inside the histogram. Up here is our general settings. Let's take a quick look. We have aircraft status, we can calibrate the compass, IMU, aircraft battery, gimbal, etc., etc. We can format our SD card here. Flight control, visual navigation, remote control, image transmission. Wonder what that does. It tells us that we have green, so that means we have a stable. If the line turns red, we don't have a good signal. So we could slide this, I believe. Nope. I'm not sure how that really works. Aircraft battery, critical low warning in the battery at 15%, and the regular low warning here is set to 25. And you can just slide that around as you want. I'm gonna bring that back to 25-ish, maybe 20. That's good. Time to discharge, 6 days. 6 days is a good time. And that's really, really an important feature because the Evo have a smart battery. This means that if you forget a couple of charged batteries in the back of your car, which I'm guilty of, in about 6 days, they're gonna slowly discharge themselves down to the voltage, storage voltage for the battery, so that the battery does not get damaged when storing it. you can see it's the 3S battery. We have the 3 cells right here, and they are literally showing the same voltage. Well, this one, cell 1, seems to be toggling up and down a little bit. Battery details, it says, gives us a serial number, not very interesting. Time to discharge, so that gimbal. So here is the axis, adjust roll axis. So if you're getting an image that's a little bit of lean, you can go in here to set that up. General aircraft coordinates, so you can show that on the screen. Oops, back. And you can restore the do not show again options. Here's your firmware option. So to finish up the controller, over on the shoulder here we have the camera angle. Down here is the video record start. Over on the other side we have the still picture capture. And here we have the display mode button for when you only use the built-in screen. This button here basically allows you to change your exposure. To enable it, you need to tap it in first. So tap on it, and then you can dial to change your exposure, change your ISO, etc. The B button here is actually, it turns out, right now mapped to take me to the gallery, which drives me nuts. I'll try to map that to something more useful shortly. Anyway, so here it is. Like I said, there is definitely some features that you get only in the app. However, for me, really, one of the really big advantages of this unit here is I can fly it with the built-in screen, and you can see when I tap on it here. Oh, look at that. Because I have the app on, I cannot toggle into show the picture also down here. It is only showing me in-flight information on the screen, and I have the picture up on the app. If I unplug the app, then I can toggle and see the camera picture on the screen down here. So super convenient, because if you happen to be an owner of a smartphone that doesn't run the latest version of Android, or an older iPhone, or if you simply are one of these people who doesn't have the latest smartphone, you don't actually need to go out and buy one to fly this. It's pretty damn cool, isn't it? I am gonna be making some STL files for this, so that I'm gonna make a bracket for an iPad mini and also a regular iPad, just so different files or different tablets can be adjusted or attached here. It can't be that hard, so I'm just gonna try to measure that the next couple of days. Take a look at my blog at fpvguide.com. I'm gonna upload a ton of pictures, and really important, over the next couple of days here, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna compare this camera to some of the other cameras out there. I'm gonna test the dynamic range. So click subscribe and stay tuned for the dynamic range resolution test on this camera. Let's see how it stacks up to the competition. Judging from my previous experiences with AUTEL, I am guessing this camera may stack up really, really well, and is probably more of a photographer's camera than most other drones in this size. So stay tuned, make sure you click subscribe, and also to learn more about this drone, go check out autelrobotics.com. Again, that is autelrobotics.com.